Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're here, I bet you're looking for a way to make your life, a little more meaningful and you're curious about how to find your purpose. Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to be diving deep into an interesting piece today. It's called Finding Your Purpose, a guide to a meaningful life.
Uh-huh.
And get this, it says, people with a sense of purpose actually end up living longer, healthier, and happier lives.
Wow.
Pretty neat, huh?
That is really interesting. And what's cool about this piece is that it doesn't make purpose out to be this huge mysterious thing that's out there just waiting for you to bump into it.
Right.
Instead, it's all about figuring out what really gets you excited, what you're good at, and then figuring out how you can use those things to make a real difference in the world.
Okay, so let's break it down. The article gives 5 steps to help people find their purpose. Step 1 is reflect on your passions.
Okay.
Now, I know that sounds a bit, corny, but just hear me out. Think about those times when you're so into something that you completely lose track of time.
Yeah.
Maybe you're working on your car or cooking a fancy dinner or even something like organizing your closet. What is it about those things that just pulls you in?
The piece says that those moments when you get so lost in something that time seems to disappear, those are actually little hints about your passions.
I see.
And they're not only about having fun, they're often about those things you're naturally good at.
Makes sense. And, speaking of things you're good at, the next step is to identify your strengths.
Right.
We're not just talking about, obvious skills like being a great programmer or writer.
Right.
It's also about those other strengths, like being a good listener or a really supportive friend, or even being a natural leader. What are some of those strengths that come to mind for you?
What stood out to me in this piece was that they said, don't overlook those softer skills. We often think things like being empathetic or being able to motivate others aren't that important, but they can be super valuable when you're trying to figure out your purpose.
Yeah, totally. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. The third step is explore your values. The piece says that values are like your internal compass. They guide your choices and how you see the world. To figure out your values, they suggest you ask yourself some tough questions like, what's most important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Is it creativity? Helping others? Justice? What is it?
Values are way more than just things you say you believe in.
Yeah.
They're those deep beliefs that make you do what you do, and they give meaning to your life. If you can figure out your core values, it makes it way easier to make decisions that line up with who you really are.
You're right. And that flows perfectly into step number 4, which is experiment and take action. This is all about getting out there and trying new things. The piece suggests that volunteering is a great way to see what you like and maybe even uncover some new passions. Have you ever volunteered for something you felt passionate about?
I haven't done a lot of formal volunteering,
Right.
but I think the main point here is that finding your purpose takes actually doing stuff.
Right.
It's not going to just magically happen to you. You have to go out there and try things and see where they lead you.
Exactly. And then finally, we're at the 5th step, which is serve others. This one really resonated with me.
Yeah.
The piece suggests that helping something bigger than yourself can make your life way more meaningful.
It's true.
You should ask yourself, how can I use what I'm good at and what I'm passionate about to really make a difference?
I love that.
Right.
Yeah.
So this piece talks about this really inspiring person, Sarah. Imagine this. Sarah is a teacher, and she feels totally stuck in her job.
Okay.
She knows something's missing, but she just can't figure out what it is. So she decides to use these 5 steps to try to figure things out.
She realizes that she loves storytelling,
Yeah.
and she's really good at communicating and connecting with people.
It's amazing how Sarah's story shows that aha moment of self-discovery,
Yeah.
She had all these incredible skills and passions, but she hadn't figured out how to use them in a way that would make her happy.
So what did she do?
Yeah, what happened next?
Well, Sarah decided to go for it and start volunteering at a local community center, teaching creative writing to kids who didn't have many opportunities. And that's when things really started to click for her.
It's really interesting. Sarah didn't have it all planned out from the beginning.
Yeah.
She didn't just wake up one day and know exactly what her purpose was. It was by taking action, by trying things and putting herself out there, that she discovered what really resonated with her.
Totally. And guess what? Her journey didn't end there. Now, Sarah actually runs a nonprofit that helps empower kids through writing. She went from feeling stuck to leading an organization that's making a real difference.
Wow, that's incredible. It's an amazing story. But I wonder, was it always smooth sailing for her? Were there any bumps in the road? What can we learn from those tough times that we all face when we're trying to find our purpose?
You're right, it's rarely a straight line.
Hmm.
There are going to be setbacks, doubts, and probably even times when you wonder if you're on the right track at all.
Yeah.
The Beast doesn't really focus on that, but it's something you should be ready for.
Hmm.
Being able to bounce back, being flexible, and being willing to learn from your mistakes, that's all part of the journey.
Yeah, you're right. Sarah's story is so inspiring. It shows that we really can build a life that has meaning and makes a difference. But this whole finding your purpose thing, is it like this sudden realization or is it more of a process that keeps going?
That's a really good question. And actually, the piece talks about that.
Yeah.
It says that finding your purpose isn't like you just flip a switch and there it is.
Yeah.
It's more like, taking care of a garden.
Mm-hmm.
It needs constant attention. You got to think about it and make changes as you go.
That makes sense. So it's not about finding the one perfect calling, but about always trying to understand better what gives our lives meaning. And speaking of understanding better, the piece also gives some really cool tools and resources to help us on this journey. They mention some books like The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren and Start With Why by Simon Sinek.
Oh, yeah. Those are classic.
Yeah.
And they look at things from totally different angles. The purpose-driven life comes at it from a faith perspective. Well, Start With Why really gets into understanding your core motivations. Actually, Start With Why really helped me figure out my own reasons for doing the work I do.
I love that. It's so important to know your why. And for those of us who love apps, the article recommends Day One for journaling and Strengths Finder for, well, figuring out your strengths.
Right.
I've heard really good things about Day One. It seems like a really helpful tool to keep track of your thoughts and ideas as you go through this whole process of finding your purpose.
Yeah, for sure. Journaling can totally change the game. It lets you process your experiences, see patterns in the way you think, and even track your progress over time. And StrengthsFinder is great for helping you find those hidden talents you didn't even know you had.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I remember taking that StrengthsFinder assessment a few years back, and it was really eye-opening.
Okay.
It helped me understand how I could use my unique strengths in all parts of my life.
That's cool. I'm definitely going to check that out. Now, besides books and apps, the piece also suggests doing a simple daily exercise. You spend just 5 minutes every morning thinking about your passions and values.
Okay.
I love how simple that is. What are your thoughts on that kind of practice?
I think it's a great idea. Even if it's just for 5 minutes a day, it can make a huge difference. It's all about keeping those important parts of yourself front and center so you're more likely to make choices that fit with your purpose.
Okay, so we've gone over the 5 steps, we've talked about some helpful resources, and we've even touched on the idea of taking a few minutes each day to reflect. But let's go back to Sarah for a minute.
Okay.
She went from feeling totally unfulfilled as a teacher to leading a nonprofit organization. That's a huge change.
It is.
What can we take away from Sarah's experience as we start looking for our own purpose?
I think Sarah's story is a perfect example of how finding your purpose often means connecting your passions, your skills, and your values.
Mm-hmm.
She had this love for storytelling and this natural ability to connect with people. And when she combined those with wanting to make a difference in kids' lives, it created this amazing energy that led her right to her purpose.
It's like all the puzzle pieces finally came together for her. And what I find so encouraging is that her purpose didn't require her to completely turn her life upside down or make a crazy career change. She started by just volunteering her time, and from there, things kind of naturally fell into place.
Exactly. And I think that's really important. Finding your purpose doesn't always mean you have to do a complete makeover of your life.
Right.
It can start with small steps, like exploring things that interest you and being open to new and unexpected possibilities.
So it's not about waiting for some big revelation to come to you, but about actively engaging with the world and seeing where your passions take you.
Yeah, totally.
And sometimes it's about making connections between things we're already good at and things we care about.
Right.
Like Sarah, she had those storytelling skills, but it wasn't until she used them to help kids that her purpose became clear.
That's so true. And, the article also points out that what we see as our purpose can change over time.
Yeah.
What gives you a sense of meaning and fulfillment today might be different 5 or 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. The key thing is to stay curious, keep trying new things, and always be open to possibilities.
I love that perspective. It takes the pressure off feeling like we need to have it all figured out right now. It's more about enjoying the journey and trusting that we'll find our way as we go along.
Exactly. It's all about the journey. And speaking of journeys, as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, we
Mm.
want to leave you with a thought-provoking question, kind of like what Sarah went through.
Yeah.
Imagine combining your biggest passion with a skill you really want to get better at. Think about it. What amazing things could you accomplish?
That's a great question to think about. What kind of impact could you have if you really honed that skill and used it for something you're truly passionate about? Wow, that's a really powerful question to consider. Like, what could you achieve if you really developed that skill and used it for something you truly care about? It makes me think about something else Sarah talked about in the piece. For a long time, she thought her purpose had to be something huge, something that would change the world.
Yeah.
But as she went through this whole process, she realized that purpose can be found in the everyday things too.
That's so true. The piece makes it clear that purpose isn't always about leading some big movement or starting a nonprofit.
Right.
It could be about those smaller, quieter ways we contribute to the world around us,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's being a good friend, raising caring kids, or even just being genuine in our work.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about finding meaning and fulfillment in the things we do every day,
Hmm.
not just chasing some big, impossible dream. I think that idea can be really freeing, don't you think?
Absolutely. It takes the pressure off, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to do something extraordinary to feel like your life has purpose. It lets us appreciate the beauty and importance of those everyday moments and see the impact we have on the people we care about.
So, as we wrap up our deep dive into finding your purpose today, we want to leave you with one last thought. Remember, this is a journey, not a destination. There's no magic formula or one right answer for everyone.
The piece encourages us to really embrace this process of self-discovery,
Yeah.
to try things out, to take chances, and to be open to those unexpected turns along the way.
And don't forget those 5 steps we talked about: reflecting on your passions, identifying your strengths, exploring your values, actually getting out there and trying new things, and finding ways to serve others.
Right.
These steps can give you a roadmap for your journey, but in the end, it's up to you to create a life that feels meaningful and true to yourself.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep growing. And remember, the world needs your unique talents and everything you have to offer.
That's right. Your purpose is out there waiting for you to discover it. We're excited to see what you do with it. Until next time, keep diving deep.